HTML forms. So what is this forms and how it works? It is one of the important aspects for QA because you will be interacting with various forms in the Selenium kind of test cases. So first thing first, if I go to, let's say, example in my, I'm already there. So if I go to Infotech, and in Infotech, if I go here, if I go to contact us, right? So here you can see there is a contact us. Most of this website will have contact us. So when you are in contact us, you kind of enter the informations, right? So when you click on that, you don't have to do right now, just see here. So if I go to contact us, normally it gives me informations about enter your first name, last name, and also as QA students, you do need to know how to access the form. So we're going to talk about that. We'll design our forms and I'm sure you will like it. So right now the form is coming and this is the coming through NAC. So those who are using database class Wednesday, you will know how this is designed. So you will understand also, you will quickly create this type of form also. So you will have fun. So let it come. It's taking a little time because there are a lot of people out there, but it will come. Now, in this form, there are so many elements we are using, and we're going to create with the lab. We're going to step by step, we're going to create it. Now, you can see nicely, the form is here. This is where you can enter the details. So if you enter the detail, that's called text box. What do you call? Text box. Now, you can see there is a font also. Okay, someone needs to be mute. Huh? Sorry for that. Yeah, no, we'll do mute. Okay. So any questions you have, please speak up because sometimes I don't see the chat. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Nabia. You don't need to worry about if it is not available in Notepad. But the text box where you enter email and phone number. As a QA, you want to automate this thing, right? This is one of the required skill that you should have it. Text box where you enter the details. And you can see this is called drop down box where you can select the details. You can see how nicely you can select, right? If you go further, there are text boxes are there. So you can, enter the information also. So there are a lot of things you can do as a QA student. So our goal tonight is we want to understand certain elements. So we call HTML forms elements. And in element, there are 5-6 elements you should know. First, we're going to talk about text box. Second, we're going to talk about is password. Third, we'll talk about checkbox. Checkbox means multi-selection. So we'll talk about multi-selection. We'll do exercise so you will easily understand it. Then we'll talk about radio. Radio or / option button means it's kind of one selection. Then we'll talk about drop-down box. Then we'll talk about text area. And then we'll talk about submit. And then we'll talk about reset. At the end, we'll talk about form. So this is, you should know about it. Most of the company will have some kind of entry form. So example, if you apply for credit card application, you fill up the form, right? When you are doing login, you fill up the form, you enter username, password, and you submit. So we use this often. We all use this often. So we want to make sure first we understand from HTML perspective, and when we do the QA work, we should know the naming convention. What is text box? What is password? What is checkbox? What is radio? And then you will automate when you do Selenium class, right? So it should be familiar with that because 20% of your work will be some kind of entry. So example, I'm creating a profile, or am I registering for the bank, or I'm applying for applications. And when you are doing upload resume or you're doing LinkedIn profile, those are all forms. And those forms, how it works, we're going to discuss about it. So far, so good. Now there are two ways you can do. One way, you do all in your laptop or a desktop. You can do all in your laptop or desktop, and one we can use through internet, which is HTML forms. So we're going to do that part also. So we will do HTML forms, right? So right now we can do HTML forms, but if you have Notepad, I'll show you how you can do in local also. Okay. So first thing first, let's go to HTML forms. I'm going to do HTML forms and just write W3 school, right? HTML. forms, HTML form. W3 School, HTML form. Right? It may take a little while, but it will show up. You don't need high-end internet. Once you come, take your time, no rush. So you will see that. So when I do enter, your information will come and you click on the first link. This actually got me a job from India to USA because I'll tell you what are the questions they asked me in my interview. So to be honest with you, I'm very blessed with HTML because my interview, there were 7 questions out of 7. 2 questions was from HTML, and I think 1 or 2 questions from Oracle, and rest of the questions were with Visual Basic, which was that time programming. So if I had not done good job in HTML, I would not have selected. But because they asked questions and I was able to answer, I was selected. 7 questions, only 15 minutes interview, and I got an offer from USA, which was like a life-changing experience. And I always believe God is great, and sometimes you never know what you know and what you don't know, right? If they have asked more questions, I would have not answered. But luckily they asked questions which I at that time I read it and I answered that question. But I'm going to explain each and every topic today. So let's click on HTML School. Let me know if you're able to see something like this, right? Now, please understand and relax and enjoy. This is a text box where you can enter. And this is called label. This is a text box. This is the label. This is the text box. And this is the button. Now, you need to understand the elements because just like think about that if you are entering in a room, then you know projector, light, table, chair, you're comfortable, right? In industry, you need to be comfortable with the elements because people will ask you questions and you should be able to explain. There are certain things that are complex and some certain things are easy, but as long as you know the what you call what, it will be easier. As a Selenium or QA engineer, you are going to do web automation, right? Web automation is the most important thing you do. And part of web automation form is a 20% work. So 20% work is the forms. So if you know form, 20% problem is solved. It's very easy concept. So let's click on try it yourself. So when you click on try it yourself, you will come here. And last time we discussed about this thing, but I will repeat again. These, what you see here, it's coming from this code. Okay, this is coming from this code. So our goal is step by step, we're going to follow that. What we need to do here is understand that. So we have a forms. Please understand, we have forms, and these forms we're going to convert nicely here. So we're going to do step by step. Okay, now anytime when you do something, you need to understand how it works. So first thing we're going to highlight and we'll delete it. And then run, so it's a blank. Highlight and delete and run, and it is a blank. Make sense or no? So initially always you start highlight and blank, so you are done. Now HTML, you write a tag HTML and you close your HTML. Remember, it's a case sensitive. Start case not sensitive, sorry. HTML is not a case sensitive, XML is a case sensitive. So you HTML form, you start and then you're going to do body. We are not going to do head or header. We're going to do body. Most of the work will be in a body and header will be here. You start and you close it. Please understand, forms are very powerful, useful thing. Every time when you are developing a form, you start this type of form and you add labels, you add a text box and all kind of things you do, and we'll cover that step by step. Buttons and all kind of things, right? Head, normally you don't see it. Body is the where we will be maximum work we'll doing here in this section. And HTML start, HTML end. So this is called document. HTML document. The document has 2 sections. One is header and one is body. Try to write in all lowercase. Make sure you understand this element which you start, you end. You start, you end. You start, you end. Okay. Now, first thing first, this body, which is when I run it, you only see the body, but there is nothing inside, so you don't see anything here. Now, the way it works here, first you create a form. Please pay attention. First, you create a form. So form is something you start and end here. So that's what you create a form. So the way you do here is you write here form form, and then you close the form. Relax, easy, okay? In one and a half hour, you will understand everything. But start with form and you close the form. That's called container. So you're creating a container here. Make sense or no? And in this container, it is not going to be visible container. A container is not visible. You will not see anything, but it is there. Now, if you are doing login, then the form is login. But if you are doing create profile where your bunch of informations, then the form name is create profile. So every form should have a name. So now right here attribute name equals to, let's say I'm doing profile. So double quotation, I'll say profile. Make sense? So every name, every form should have some kind of name. So if I'm doing login, I'll say name login. If I'm doing contact us, I'll say name contact us. Very simple. So give a name so that form become unique. In one page, you can have many forms. One can be contact us, one can be feedback, one can be logging. So you can differentiate each form by name. Make sense or no? Now inside that, you are going to write something. So I'm going to write here, let's example, I'll say first name, and then I'm going to say here input type equal to text, input type equal to text, and then I'll say name, let's say first, and value I say empty, and I close my thing, and if I run it, you will see nice text box. So here I said type equal to text in double quotation. So this is double quotation. Make sure you understand. Name equal to first, that's in double quotation. Value is empty. So you can see here right now it's empty. Nice text box you visible here. So if you want some value to be added, you write here value. So example, if you want to write by default name is Mike, I can write in double quotation. Please understand, anything you start double quotation, you make sure you end double quotation. You start double quotation, you end double quotation. Make sense or no? Remember, try to write in lowercase, and don't, if you do something incorrect, you will not see the result correctly. So immediately see your syntax, which is this one, is grammar, and my syntax. Like example here, I said double quotation, but if I write Mike here or Tom here, and if I click on run, you will see Tom will be displayed. So that's your default value. So sometimes it's important that you define default value, which you can see here. Good so far? Now, if I want to create another thing, I'll copy this, so I highlight this line. So what I normally do, I keep my cursor on the first and then shift down arrow. Make sense? I keep my cursor on the first and shift down arrow. And then I select Control C. Control C means copy and Control V means paste. And instead of first name, I'm going to do last name. And here I'll change the name. So that way my text box name is last. And of course, value I can say Smith. So you can see I have two items now. One is the first name, which is text box, and last name is also text box. And if I run it, I get that two items. As you can see here, first name and last name, these are labeled, which I can visibly see here, right? It's visible. And these are entry point. Entry point means I can enter here. So if I want to change something, I can type here. These are text box. These are label which you cannot edit it. You can just see it. So far, any questions? So far, so good?
Why we enter the first
Sorry?
in coding,
Uh-huh.
why we add the name?
Because if you enter here, if you enter something, how would you know what did you enter, where did you enter? So that's that this guy has a name. This guy has a name, means when you enter here, programming will understand that you're entering first name. And when you enter here, you're entering last name. Otherwise, if you don't give name, then programmer will not know what did you enter, where did you enter. Makes sense? Or no?
Is it like a variable that?
It is a kind of variable. Yes, it is a variable. So this is what you're going to give to your program, that the input basically. So you're saying first name. So whatever you write, it will go as a first name. Whatever you write here will go as a last name. So it's each element you should have a name. Mhm. Right now, both elements are looking in the same line because I have not done a BR. So I'm going to do BR. BR stands for break, and it will now divide into multiple lines. Good so far? Everyone is good? No commas here. Right? HTML is a hypertext markup language, more decorative, but you are using these commands to do this decoration. So right now you're learning HTML forms elements, HTML form elements, and they may ask sometime question. You must know it because you are going to do automation with Selenium. Now let's do password. So we'll do, let me add a BR here first here. BR stands for break, and I'll say password, and I'll say input type equals to password, name equal to password, value equal to empty, and then close your elements. So if I enter now, my password is not visible. If I type here, it will be ... So when you specify type password, if you type anything, it will be ... Means no one will know what did you type. For this one to go to next line, I did BR here, and this one go to next line, I did BR here as well. Remember, name is the identification of this element, and the value what you want to write, I make it empty because I don't want a hardcode password. And the type is password, means your whatever you type, no one will be able to see that. Password means hide the text. Good so far? Awesome. Now let's do BR one more. Now let's say I want to create some kind of option button or radio button. So check it out. So I'll say gender, or we can say sex for now. Here we'll say input type radio, and then we can say name. So we can say male, value, let's say M, and then we give a label male, and then do BR. So if I do that, you will see here nicely, option button will be visible. When you write a radio, you will see this type of thing. Now, problem here is if I just do one, it's like that. But if I need two, right, male and female. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the name here because this is the same as my label. So I'll see here, use name sex here, and then I'll copy this thing up to this, and I paste here. Everything will remain same. Here I'll do F for female, and that will give me 2 radio button. So now I can select one of them. I cannot select both. I can select one of them. Make sense or no? So let me do BR here also. So that way it will be more readable. I'll do BR here also. So check it out. Now you can select only one of them. Now this is very important phenomena. This is coming because of you do radio. They have same name. So what you are saying that these are same name, your choice. If you select these, the value will be M. And if you select this, value will be F, but they are same. And that is the same name is sex. If any one of this is selected, you are only allowed to select one. So this concept is called mutual exclusive. What we call mutual exclusive. I added a BR here just to give a little bit space here. So it press enter here, and then both are using same name. So sometimes people will ask you, what is the difference between radio box and checkbox? So radio box allows you only one selection, right? Example, are you working? Are you not working, right? So in that case, are you renting or are you owning? So it's very important. If you are using radio box, make sure name remains same for both. Name remain same and the value will differ. So if you select the first one, value will go to programmer is M. And if you select the second one, value will go to programmer F. So far, so good. Any question, concerns?
So when you write the where you have the name, that's really only for the developers to know.
All those names are for developers. Yes, this is for developer only. Normally, HTML forms will be prepared by developer. You are not going to develop the forms. You will be testing the form. You are not going to develop the form. You are not a web developer. You are validating that. But you need to know what is this thing, right? So you can validate better. Example, let me just show you mistake here. Let's say I made a mistake and some reason I made something like a spelling mistake, SAX. Now, if I run it here, what will happen? I can select male and I can select female also. Do you see the problem? If you do not know how it works, you will not be able to find because somebody made a typo here. So if you made a typo, it creates a bigger problem. So that's why we are learning HTML, making sure we understand how it works. But programmer writes everything. This is something Selenium will use it. Selenium will use it. So you need to know how Selenium is going to use, how this element works or known. And that's why it's important that you know how this form works. So far, so good. Any other questions? Everyone is doing good, right? Now let's do BR. We already have BR. Now let's do hobby. So hobby, and then we do BR. BR stands for break, and we're going to say input type equal to check. CHE check. And then we'll say name equals to, that's a sports, and value equal to sports. And if I run it, you will see checkbox, my mistake. Oops. Oh, okay. I made a mistake here. Sport. It's supposed to be check. I'm missing sports here. Yeah, here you go. And here it should be checkbox. And tiny checkbox. Very good. So now let's see here. So here checkbox. So when you do checkbox, you get a nice, beautiful checkbox like this. The name is sports, value is sports, and sports. This is the label. This is the label. So if I do check like this, then the value will go to computer, means background program, which is I'll explain in a few minutes. But this value will go to the program with the name sports. So you selected this. Now, if I do BR here and I copy this thing, I highlight and copy this line. And I put it a couple of times. I highlight and copy. Instead of sports, let's say I do reading. Value reading. You see different name here. And here reading. And here, let's say traveling. Here traveling. And here traveling. Now you can see here I added three things. And if I run it, I have a three. Now I can select any of them. Make sense? But here I can only select one of them. So this is a very popular question in your interview, that what's the difference between radio button and checkbox? So checkbox allow multiple selection. It allows multiple selection, and radio button allows only one selection. As you can see here, there are checkbox, they have same name, but different names here. While in a radio button, everyone has the same name. So because it's the same name, you are only able to select only one. But here, each one has a different name. And when you select the name, you are giving program different value. These are labeled. What you see here is this what you see. You can change this thing if you want. And you can also change it. This one will go to your backend program. So your backend program will get the value. But please understand, because you did checkbox, it's a multi-selection. And if you did radio, it's only one selection. Make sense? Any questions, concerns, doubt? Everyone is doing good? Okay. Now, I'm going
Yes, please. I have a question, please.
Sure, go ahead.
How can we align under the first name, last name? There's a box where we write Tom Smith.
mhm.
How can we align the box at the front of the
Yeah, remember
password to
yeah,
align under the first
got
and
it,
last
got it. Remember last week we talked about table? Using table, you can do that. I'll show you later. Make sure you remind me, but I'll show you later how to do that.
name? Okay.
Because you are doing straightforward typing, you cannot align. You need to create a table, and I'll show you how to do so. Okay. Now, give me a second. You don't do anything. I'll just show you one thing, and then we'll do the what you call drop down box. So here I will do list here. Just give me a second. You don't do, just see here. So where did it go? I click on wrong place here. Here it goes, list. Now you can see here. This one. Okay, let's do HTML, and I'll say selection. I want to show you something. This is something you often use for drop down for state or some places, like example drop down box, right? So I'm going to do it, and then you'll do it also yourself here. Check it out. I'm going to put here concept called, like here, let's say example state. So I write a state, then I say select, name is state, right? I don't need ID. And I write a value, let's say MI for Michigan, and I'll write here Michigan. And I write OH for Ohio. Make sense or no? Ohio. And NY for New York. So you can write as many you want, but for time being, I'm going to write only this. So what we are doing here, we are giving here options called state. You can select, and let me do BR also. Now, if I run it here, you get a drop down box. You can see here. Now, please understand, because here I say multiple, I'm allowed to select multiple by holding shift. So if I click on here and hold shift, I can select both of them. Make sense? But if I say remove multiple, and if I run it here, it gives me drop down box. Make sense? So if I put it again, Control Z, why don't you try it out? And you can see that. So sometimes you might have a selection box educations, right? Educations like example, associate degree, bachelor's degree, like that. So you write what you want, education, and then you give a name, single or multiple. These one will go to programmer, and these one will be visible to user. So this one is visible. This one is going to programmers. So whatever you are doing here, it will go to programmer, and this one will see the user. So if user want to see something else, you may want to change here. Again, first you start a selection, and then you do options. Try yourself and see if it works. If give me thumbs up, if you're able to do it, then you can also remove multiple and see if you can see the drop down box. Good. Writing HTML is so much fun because you can write it and you can see right away result, right? It's more visible. And if you make a typo, make sure you correct it. And the best way to learn is by doing it. And once you do it, it's easier, it becomes. Good. Any questions, concerns, doubt so far?
What do we have select over there? Do we need to have select?
Yes, start and end. So that's why it is. This is ending, right? Every element we start and end. For input, we don't do, but if you write this slash, it's not a bad thing to do. You can write a slash and you can close that input also. Good. Any problem? Good. Everyone is right. Now, I want to add a text area. So let me just get the syntax and I'll get you. You don't have to do anything, just relax and I'll give you here. So here, HTML, and I'll say text area. The reason I'm doing this thing, so you can see how I'm searching, but you don't have to do right now, text area. And anytime when I do this thing, it give me the hint here. Google is the best friend. You don't have to search, but I'm going to show you. I'm searching how I get that. Now, text area where you can write a comments. So let me do it, show you so you can understand. So first thing I'll write here after this. So text area. Now what will happen is I don't have to give ID. I'm giving a name. And here I'll say comment. Now what it does, it creates a text area like this. Now I have two choices. How many rows I can write or show, how many rows I can show, and how many columns I can show, right? So you have a choice to write columns and rows. So here you can say row 4. If I do row 4, I can write 4 lines. But if I say row 3, then I will write 3 lines. It will be visible. And other lines, there will be a scroll bar. And 50 means I can write 50 characters in each line. And here I don't want to write anything, but this is a text area. So now if I run it, you will see that. So you can see here, let me do BR here. So BR, comment, and BR. Let's do comment and BR. So the reason BR stands for break. So it will give me nicely. So you can see here, because I wrote a text area, you see nice text area is there. Because I wrote 3, it is showing me 3 lines here, but I am allowed to write more lines, and 50, so it shows 50 characters this side. So it means you can write 50 characters, you can write 3 rows. Now if I say here, no, I want to do 5, and I don't want to do 50, I want to do 30. So now the box will be tiny, and I'll have 5 lines. Check it out. So now I have 5 lines. Make sense or not? So text area is a great way to write comments and all kind of things you can do yourself. So you start with the text area. Anytime I want to go to next line, I use BR for break, text area, then you give a name, how many rows you want, how many columns you want, and then text area, close it by text area. HTML is so much fun, and I would strongly suggest you should do like at least 1 or 2 times practice, then you will understand it. My career, when I started, I was initially working on HTML because .com, which is 2000 time, if you know HTML and JavaScript, CSS, you get a job. So HTML was very important. At that time, you have to certify for HTML. So I'm HTML certified guy. There was a company called Brain Bench, and then you go and certify. It was a free certification. So I was working hard and getting certification also, but it was very useful skill. Now I want to add up buttons. So I'm going to do now buttons. So I'll say input type equals to submit, and the name equals to submit, and value equal to submit. So you will have button now. So, and that button will have now submit thing. So if I run it, you will see button. So you can see nice button submit. Let me do BR. So as you can see here, I have now button called submit. So if I click it, the form can be submitted. See, the form is submitted. So the submit means what happened is this form you have here, you write all the details. And when you click on submit, these detail will go to the program, which is the backend program. Remember, we talked about 3-tier architecture, presentations, which is your HTML. So presentation is your HTML. And when you submit the button, it will go to your business logic, which is the application logic. Here, your data will come. And when your data goes there, all the name will have its value. So whatever name you have, it will have a value. So submit will push data to the backend, and backend you get all the data, you program it, and then you either insert into the database or you do all some business logic. So from presentation to backend, you have only one choice. You need to submit. If you don't submit, data will not go, right? So submit button allows your data to push from client or presentation layer to business layer. Make sense? Now, sometimes you may not want to submit. You want to start over, which is called reset. So you can reset it. You don't want to submit, you want to reset it. So let me copy this thing. Let me copy this thing. And instead of type submit, you just say reset or clear. So you reset here and you reset here. So now when you run anything, you type anything, you want selection, anything, you select anything, and then you just say reset, it will unselect everything. Check it out. So you select everything, whatever you want, write anything, and if you click on reset, it will clean up everything. So it will start over. So sometimes you made a mistake, and if you want to clear your form, just do reset. So it's very important. It's very important that you always add a reset. So think about login page. Every login page will have a first name, sorry, username and password, and then instead of login, if you want to show login, you just specify value login here. Then it will show on your screen as a button login. So whatever you write here in a value, that will be visible. And if you want to clear, then you write a clear here. So it will show that the label will show up on the button. So if you want that, you can do that as well. Good. So now let's repeat one more time. All those things we have done is a form, nice, beautiful form, but these two buttons are magic. Any forms you create, right? And there are two buttons, submit, which is this one, allow us to submit that to the server, and reset allows you to reset everything, right? You can reset everything. So you can clean up everything and you start over. The reason it doesn't clear because you hard coded it, right? Here you hard coded. So if I do empty here, right? And if I run it here, now if I type something, right? And if I reset, it will clear. So ta-da, right? Because if you hard code, it doesn't reset. But here, anything you write here, right, will be written here. But if you write empty and then you write anything, right? Anything you write, doesn't matter, you select. Reset will reset everything, which is kind of nice. So if you write anything you want, reset, it's good. Now, a couple of things I want to show you. One thing, this is the question I was asked in my interview. They say, you know what? If you have this all information, and when you submit this thing, is this information secure or non-secure? What do you guys think? Non-secure. Why it is non-secure? Why it is non-secure?
You can see
Right.
resource.
So here Notepad will be very plus because plus point. I'll help you now how it works. Okay. So I'm hoping that people on phone are also able to do. I'll put this thing in a Google class so you will have access to the code also. But right now, what I want you to do is this entire code, I'll go to Notepad. So now go to your Notepad++ so you can see how it works. So please follow, do Notepad, open Notepad++. Those who are Mac, you may use any editor which you have. Notepad++ doesn't work for Mac. You may have a use any editor. There is a concept called Editor Plus or other editor. You can use it also. Not a problem. Any editor is fine. So I'm using a now new editor. And then I'll do Control A, which is select all. Control A, select all, and Control C. Control C means copy. Control A, select all, and Control C, copy it. So far so good. Control A, select all, and Control C, copy, and then do Control V. So you can get in a you can get it all the code in your Notepad++. So let me repeat again one more time in case if you're not very clear. Control A will allow you to select everything. So if you do Control A, select all, and then Control C, copy it, and then go to Notepad and then do Control V. V means paste it. So you're pasting it. Control A, Control C, Control V. This is something very useful. Have a shortcut ready. Now I'm going to save this file on my desktop. Make sense? So I'll say File, please follow. File, and I'm going to say save as. So I'll say file, save as, and when you save as, make sure you select HTML. So there won't be any problem. So you should look for HTML, and here you go, HTML markup language, select that, and then give a name. So like I'm going to give name as a profile. So I'm going to select profile.html. That's right, just profile. I think it will, let's do profile HTML. So you are storing your file as a profile.html. Make sure you select this thing. So it's allow it. You can give any name of your choice, but here we are giving profile.html. Good so far? Now I'm going to select on desktop because it is going to be stored on a desktop. So it's important that you select where you want to copy this file. So desktop profile.html. So far so good. Now click on save. So when you click on save, I already have a file, so it'll say yes, I'm saving it. So right now the file will be saved, and you can see as I save, it's colorful now. The reason it is colorful because Notepad++ understand HTML, and it does pretty good job in giving this kind of anchor type of thing. So you can minimize and you can maximize. You can see how nicely it is. So you can minimize, maximize, and all kind of things. You can see that. Make sense? It kind of automatically give color, which is kind of nice. Good. Now, if you click on the right bottom side, there is a corner here, right bottom side. If you click on that, you can see the desktop. So if I click on desktop, I can see profile page here somewhere. This is demo. There's a profile, contact. Where is my profile? Here you go. So you can see profile. I have profile copy, and if you double click on the profile, you will see nice form like this, right? So this page which I saved here, this page I saved as a profile.html, which is on desktop. I save it. Now I double click, I went to desktop and I double click, and I can see nicely entire form is visible in my local machine. Make sense? How many of you are able to do that? Good, right? Always remember Notepad++ in your local machine, W3 we are doing, which is doing on a web. Web is not going to be saved, but in local machine, you can save it. Now what happened? I will show you something which is surprising you. So example, I write my name Tom, right? I write Tom, last name is Smith, right? And let's say password, I write some password. I select mail, I select some hobbies, right? I select the state and I write something. This is fun. And if I click on submit, what happened here on URL, check this thing. I type something and I click on submit. Please understand, I'm typing something. You don't have to copy exactly what I type, but type something and then now click on submit. So when you do so, what happens? So when I click on submit, you will see everything what you enter is visible here. Do you see that? Even my password is also visible. That is very bad. Do you guys agree or not? So whatever I have done so far, whatever I have typed, it's all here. So when I do submit, all this information goes to the server, but it is going through browser. If somebody see your password, is your password is secure now? No. So this was the question they asked me during my interview. First of all, when you submit, what happens? So when you submit, all those information go as a query parameter. Speak with me. Query parameter. What it goes? Query parameter. What is query parameter means? Parameter means the name you use will be a key, and the value you enter is a value, and then ampersand. So key equals to value and then ampersand. Make sense or no? So you can see carefully. First name is your key, and the last name, sorry, first name in this Tom is your value. Then again, last name is your key, right? And Smith is your value. And between that, you might notice that ampersand sign is the end sign. Do you guys agree or not? Same thing. If you see password is your key, but your password is readable. Yes or no? And now, if you see here, sex here, you selected male, so that's your value. And here is the key. In sports, you selected sports, traveling, and all you selected. So basically what I'm trying to explain here is when you are passing this value, it's all visible because the form you're using has a very interesting thing. So when you send this information by default, form is using concept called get. Speak with me, get. So get means everything is visible. Everything is visible. So if you are doing secure work, get is not the right choice. You should never use get if you are doing secure work. In that case, you should do post. What you should do? Post. So right now you see that I'm able to see that because by default it is get. So how do I hide this thing? How do I secure my page? For that, very simple. This is the same question was asked in my interview. Go to form, go to form, go to form, and just write here method equals to double quotation post. That's all you need to write. And this will become now more secure. It will not show what you are submitting. So method equal to post, method equal to post. And if you say method equal to post, all the details which you are submitting to the backend, which is your server, no one will know what you're sending. So check it out. So I'm going to save this thing. And now let me go back again one more time, refresh the page. I want to refresh the page. So I did a back first and I refresh the page. Now I'm entering names and I'm entering last name and I'm entering, let's say, password, selecting different values, entering different thing and submitting. Now you will not see anything. Did you notice that? You're not able to, even I submit, you're not able to see anything because post is very secure. So during my interview, first they ask, how would you secure it? So I say post. So they also asked me one thing in login, what would you use? Username is here, password is here, and you are doing login. Would you use get or post?
Post.
Post. So wherever you want to do secure, what would you use? Post. Make sense? Any questions so far?
Yes.
Mhm.
Where would you define like let's say only 150 characters allowed or this many
Here,
symbols you need for the password? Where would you
yes,
write it?
here. So you can say max length. So you can say max length. So you can see here max length, right? You can say max length, and here you can say you're allowed to only use 5 characters.
Okay.
So you can specify max length. So if
And
I
you
say
can say also like you need to have special character, one capital, one
no,
those fancy things, or
no,
it comes in the programming.
then you have to do programming. There are certain things, certain thing you can do. Like example here, you can say like input first name is required. So you can say required. So you can say required. Then it is important that you enter. Otherwise, it won't work. So if you do required, right? So if I save it, required. So you can see here when I'm submitting now, check it out. If I'm submitting now, it is say, hey, you didn't fill up, right? You didn't fill up because if you say required, you have to enter. And if I say max length 5, so you can see here, I just enter here, I enter here, and let's say I entered A and I'm trying to submit, it will say, it did not check. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. If I enter here, Smith, and I'm going to enter like a 7, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not able to type. Make
Right.
sense? So
Yes,
like,
yes. Thank you.
good questions.
Can we believe post method?
It's not 100% secure, but it is not exposing your data on URL, right? It is not exposing your data in URL because URL right now, when you submit here, if I do get, right, and if I do get, save it, if I refresh, and if I refresh here, and if I submit anything, let's say enter something, data is display. So this is your URL. So please understand something I'm going to show you. Please, everyone, pay attention. When you are doing this thing, there are 4 names people use. One is the URL. URL stands for Unified Resource Locator. So this is the link. This link is unique in the entire world. So Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator means it's only one. But if you do question mark and after that you have, that's called query. So do you see question mark here? Say yes or no. Do you see that? Say yes. What are you going to say? Yes. Right? And when you see key value and ampersand, that's called parameter. Key value ampersand. Key value ampersand. Right? So it's very important that you understand, because sometimes people ask what is URL. So every time when you write google.com, that's a URL. It's unique. It will take you one page. But then you pass question parameter. So when you pass parameter, programmer will read those parameters. So that's why it's called query parameters. What we call query parameter. Through query parameter, user programmer knows what user wants. So when you enter username and password, programmer knows what did you enter, username and password. So programmer will verify against the database and then take you to the next page. Make sense? If you don't pass query parameter, programmer will never get. So if you are passing query parameter, don't use get to post. So it will be more secure.
Is there a benefit to get versus post?
There is a one benefit is get is by default. Get is by default. So whenever you link, whenever you use link like hyperlink, remember last week we talked about anchor. When I use anchor, like an anchor href equal to Google, remember we did that Google and then you use google.com. So in that case, by default, get. So anytime when you do link, right? Like example here, all these menus are clickable, right? They're all by default, whenever it is clickable, by default, it's a get. So get is by default, so it's easy, it's simple. But if you are doing forms, if you're using forms and you are submitting that to the server side, at that time you need to ask question, is it a secure data? Do you want to secure? Then post matters. So post has two main advantages. First, it gives you a little security because it's not exposing. And the second advantage it gives, get, you can only send around 255 characters. But in post, you can send resume, you can send your book, you can send your videos, you can send anything. So example, if you want to do attachment, if you want to upload your resume, if you upload your cover letter, then you have to use post, because post allows a lot more detail you can send. But get allows limitations. I think they increased to 2 kilobytes now. But get normally people don't use, because how much you get you can do. Your limitations, right? Because browser URL, this browser URL will be limited. Make sense or no? So get has a limitation, post doesn't have a limitation. Post requires a little bit programming. So get is simple, but post is more secure and it has a lot more benefits. Good. Any other questions?
The reason it's default is not post is because of
Get.
the
No, simple. Simple. Get is more simple. So you can see here, you can click here and it's get. So anytime when you click on it's a get. It's simple. Post is more complex because the programmer has to do coding also. Make sense? People on phone, any other questions? Now, one last thing I want to answer. Yes, any question? There was a question asked.
No, sorry. I was trying to clear the old one. Sorry.
Yeah. Now the question was asked about formatting, right? So let me just show you that and then we'll call a day. So where did my thingy go? Here you go. So I want to do formatting, right? So the way normally I will just give you example for this one. So it's easier. So please understand, you can create a table. Make sure you understand table, you start, table you end. And each item you put in a row. Each item you will put in a row. And then because you have two item label and what you call text box, you will put two TD. TD stands for table data. And then table, this is the table, and this is the TR. TR stands for row. TR stands for row, TD stands for data, and table will be closing. So we're going to do step by step for only these three. You can do later when you have time to do rest of the things. So I'm going to show you, see how easy it is. So I am going to set up these three items in a proper format. So first thing, I'll start with table, relax and see the phenomena here. Table, I start and I close table. Make sense? So I start table and I close table. But when I do that, it's not going to do magic because you need to put a row. So I'm going to do TR. And first item I close. I don't need a BR afterwards because I'm going to do TR. So I close TR. Make sense or no? So please understand, I'm doing TR, TR, and I'll do the same thing, TR, right? anytime you do TR and all, you don't need a BR. So I'm going to delete it and close TR. So TR start, TR means row, and I'm going to do alignment so you can see that. And also I'm going to do TR, and I'm going to remove the BR and close TR. Please understand, anytime you are doing this thing, see here, first is the table, and this is the TR. But then these are the data item. This is the TR, but these are data item. This TR. So how many rows I have? 3 rows. And how many tables I have? 1. If I want to do decoration, I can do border equals to 1. So it's can kind of give me dot decoration a little bit. Now this item I want to put in TD. So I'm going to put it TD and I will close TD. That's the one item. Do you guys agree or not? That's one column. And then I put enter, I press enter and I do TD and I close this item. So now this is nicely done. See here, nicely done that this table has a TR and this is TD and TD. So that will create a column. So TR will be like this and this is the TD. So that is the one item. And this item will go to second. So this is done. So I need to repeat the same thing for other because it's not important. So I'll close it. So TD stands for table data. And then also TD start. Remember, formatting is important. The more you format, easier it is, more readable. So one TR has multiple TD. Here we have 2 TD, 2 data. Make sense? So easy as it becomes. And now, so I have done nicely done. So now see again one more time. Please see here, there's a table, a closing table. So first thing is creating table. Then your TR, which is creating a row. In this TR, you have 2 TD. So you're creating 2 columns. In TD, first column, you're adding this, second column adding this. Once it's complete, you're doing second TR. And second TR, you also have 2 rows, 2 columns. So TD and the last name here, first name here, and then text box here. So this way you format, you don't need to do BR if you do table. And if I save this thing, and if I refresh, you just need to say ta-da. Nice. Say yes. I was expecting ta-da. Make sense or no? So the question I ask on this formatting wise, you do need to do like something like this in order to do great presentations. Question, concern, doubt. Good. I hope everyone is enjoying and everyone understands. So that completes my tonight's show. Please, I think our entire class is here. Before you guys disappear, I just want to make